Okay, so we are solving our systems of equations here with elimination. So the first problem that we're starting with, that's going to be this problem here. This is number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write down the problem. So we have x minus y equals a negative 6. And then we have x plus y equals a negative 8. So we see this word here, elimination. So what that means is we want to add our equations together so that when we add them, one of the variables is eliminated. Okay, so right now, if we look at our equations, we'll just keep this blue actually, and I add them together, that's going to give us x plus x, that is 2x. And when I add y with a negative y, that's going to become 0. So that's kind of our whole purpose of elimination. So we end up with 2x equals negative 14. Okay, now we can solve for x. We can divide by 2 on both sides, divide by 2, and we're going to get x equals a negative 7. And once we know the value for x, we can easily solve for the value of y by plugging that into either one of these equations. So we can say x minus y equals negative 6. Oh yeah, but remember, instead of x, we are replacing x with our value of negative 7 minus y equals negative 6. So then we can add 7 to both sides. That's going to give us negative y equals negative 6 plus 7, which is 1. Y is not isolated yet. It has a negative attached to it. It's like a negative 1. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. So y is a negative 1. So then remember, we write our solution as a coordinate point x comma y. So negative 7 comma negative 1. And then we see, okay, our solution to this is negative 7, negative 1. That means this is problem number 2. This was our answer right here. So that's the path that we're taking on the maze, okay? So now with this problem, we have a 3x plus 2y equals 30. And then our equation below that, we have a 7x plus 2y equals 46. Now, if we add these two equations, I'll just put a plus here. If we add these two equations as they are, I get 10x plus 4y. Oh, nothing is eliminated here. So what we need to do is we need to change one of the equations so that the signs become negative. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to multiply this bottom equation or the top equation, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to multiply it by a negative 1. And really all that's doing is it's changing the sign of every term. So now that's becoming a negative 3x, a negative 2y, and a negative 30. And if you want, you could have just put negative signs in front of each of them. You don't have to rewrite the whole thing. And then this equation didn't change, so I'm just going to place it down below. And now we can go ahead and add these two equations together. So we're going to get a negative 3x and 7 is going to add together. So that should be 4x. And when we add a negative 2 and positive 2, that should be 0. So that's our whole point of eliminating. And so then that's going to equal negative 30 plus 46, which is 16. So you should be able to get an x value from this, and then you can solve for y after that. So x equals 4 in this equation, 4 comma, you're going to put your solution here, and then based on what your solution is, well, we know it's either going to go here or it's going to be here, one of those two answers. Okay, so you're just going to continue the maze. The last problem of the maze, because we actually cut it off so that you have 7 problems. I'll give you a hint. This is going to be your last equation. So once you get here, you're going to be done. That'll be question number 7. Okay. Page 9 was also, or that was page 9. Page 10 was also part of the assignment. So I want to go over a few questions on this page. So if you notice, we're still using this elimination method here. Okay. Now, if I take these two equations and I add them together, that's going to give me 4x. Ooh, this is like a -1 and 2 plus y. Okay. So as these equations are, they will not eliminate with each other. I can't also just change this to a negative, make that positive, change that to I can't just change the signs by multiplying by -1 because they're still not going to eliminate with each other. So I have to multiply by a different value that will make the y's the same number, one positive, one negative, or make the x's the same number, one positive and one negative. So I say, okay, well, I can change the x's. I can make the x's both 3x's, or I can change the y's. I can make them both 2y's. But remember, again, we need a positive and a -3x. We need a positive and a -2y. So really looking at both of these, same amount of work is going to go into changing the x's to 3x's or the y's to 2y's. So I'm just going to change on this equation here. Well, actually, we're not need to change the bottom equation. I'm just going to go ahead and make the y's both 2's. Let's practice that. So in order to make this y a 2, I need to multiply it by a 2. And it's already going to be negative. This one's already positive, so the signs will work out as well. Okay. When I change one part of the equation, I have to change all three parts to that equation. So I'm going to get 2x minus, so 2 times x is 2x minus 2y equals -16. Okay. Now the other equation, 3x plus 2y equals 1, that didn't change. So I'll just rewrite that below. You don't have to rewrite them, but I just kind of like to organize my work that way. Now we've created two equations that will eliminate with each other. So we can add them together. This becomes 5x. Now when we add the y's, it's 0. And then we get a -15. Okay, we can divide both sides by 5. That gives us x equals -3. And then we want to make the whole solution here, so -3 comma. Now to solve for y, I can plug it into this first equation, this equation. It doesn't matter which one we plug it into. So I'm just going to plug it into this top equation that we started with here. So that would be x minus y equals -8. You'll get the same answer if you plug it into any of the other ones. -y equals -5, -8 plus 3, divide by -1, and y equals 5. So I'm going to put that here. -3 comma 5, that is my solution. Now, you can't even solve this next problem until you knew the answer to the previous problem. So it says, use the x coordinate from the previous problem to substitute into the next one. So the x coordinate we got was a -3. So I'm going to put -3 here. Now, looking at these two equations, we add them together. Oops, that's going to be 10x. This is going to be 17y. Nothing eliminates. So we need to multiply these equations by some number that makes the x's the same positive, negative version of each other's. So if we start thinking about how can we make them the same, well, let's look at the x's. So 7x, multiples of 7 would be like 7, 14, 21, etc. Multiples of 3 would be like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20, okay, 21. So I basically have to multiply these numbers by each other in order for them to be the same number, 21. That's going to be the smallest number I can make them. So on my top equation, I'm going to multiply that by 3. On my bottom equation, I'm going to multiply that by 7. Now, that's going to make them both 21s, but what we really want is a 21x, and we want a -21x. So one of these is going to have to be negative when I multiply it out. Doesn't matter which one. I'll just make the top one negative. So now we have to rewrite both of these equations. Multiply here, here, and here. Okay, so multiply the top equation. That's going to be a -21x. And then -3 times 8 is going to be -24y. And then, let me grab my calculator. 19 times 3. I don't even do mental math all the time. So 19 times 3 is going to be 57, negative 57. And then my other equation, we have 7 times 3, 21x. Oh, good. Now we have x's that will eliminate. 7 times 9, 7 times negative 3. Now we can add our equations together. And sorry, I forgot my y here. So the x's will eliminate. And we got 63 minus 24. And that's going to be 39y. And then we've got 57, negative 57, and 21 combining to 78. And let's divide 78 with 39. And that's going to be negative here, rather. Y equaling a negative 2. Now I just need to solve for x. So to solve for x, I can put that into any one of the original equations. I'm going to put it into this one here. So 3x plus 9 times y equals negative 3. So that's going to give us 3x minus 18 equals negative 3. We'll add 18 to both sides. And that's going to be 3x equals 15. We'll divide by 3, and x is 5. I'm going to put that here. Now, problem 3, the next problem is right below it. See, these problems are counterclockwise. So this is problem 3. I'm going to put my 5 here so I can actually set up this problem and solve it. So remember, we need to make the x's the same exact number. So maybe we can make the x's 15s. You can make the y's the same number. Maybe you can make them both 16s. We're looking for, lowest common multiples. And then whatever you get for your answer here, for whatever this number is, that's going to be placed here for the last problem.